16 years old. Most kids that age are worried about prom dates and college applications. Sean Pica was staring down a 24-year prison sentence. The courtroom was silent as the judge delivered the verdict. 24 years. At 16, that might as well be forever. Sean was young, shy, and drowning in shame about what he'd done. While most teenagers his age were getting ready to graduate high school, Sean was preparing to enter the New York State correctional system. He thought his life was over. In some ways, it was. But in others, it was just beginning. The crime that put him there? A murder for hire to help a friend. One terrible decision at 16 cost him the next 16 years of his life. Sean Pica refused to let those years go to waste. What he did behind bars didn't just transform him. It created a revolution in prison education that would save lives and millions of taxpayer dollars. Sean grew up in New York in the 1980s and 90s, when crime rates were high and the crack epidemic was tearing apart communities. For teens in certain neighborhoods, running into the justice system felt inevitable. School didn't work for him, and by 9th grade, he'd already been in trouble with the law. The path was clear. Serious trouble was coming. At 16, it arrived. The case that made headlines across New York involved Cheryl Pearson, a girl being sexually abused by her father. Desperate to escape, she arranged his murder. Sean was the teenager she hired. The crime shocked Long Island, a child killing for hire. The media ran with the story. The system came down hard. Sean was sentenced to 24 years in prison before he could legally vote, drink, or finish high school. He entered prison with little hope. Academically, he was still in 9th grade. Emotionally, not much older. Unlike most inmates who served time in 1 or 2 facilities, Sean would move through several over 16 years, growing up in an environment designed to break adults. At first, survival was everything. 16 in prison isn't the same as 36. You're not just serving time, you're becoming an adult in a place where violence and chaos define the culture. Most young inmates either get swallowed by it or withdraw into isolation, emerging more broken than when they went in. Sean found another path. He helped others. It began with children's books. Many inmates were functionally illiterate. Reading aloud gave them a glimpse of another world and for a moment broke through the hopelessness of prison life. Sean also helped them write letters to their families. For men who had never been taught to express themselves, the act of putting feelings on paper was powerful. Watching others discover literacy's dignity lit something inside him. Education, he realized, wasn't just about diplomas. It was about reclaiming humanity. That spark grew when Sean encountered Hudson Link for Higher Education in Prison, a nonprofit bringing accredited college courses into New York prisons. This wasn't basic training, it was real college taught by real professors. At first, Sean doubted himself. He'd barely survived 9th grade, but he remembered the light in his fellow inmates' eyes when they learned something new. He also knew he had years to serve and needed purpose. So he signed up. The transition from dropout to college student was brutal. He had to master study skills, critical thinking, and discipline, all inside an environment filled with noise, tension, and violence. But each course pulled him further from the kid who'd made that terrible decision and closer to the man who would one day change countless lives. But something clicked. For the first time in his life, Sean discovered he was actually smart. Not just street smart, actually intelligent, capable of complex thought, rigorous analysis, meaningful contribution. His fellow inmates noticed the change. Sean wasn't just serving time anymore, he was using time. Every day had purpose. Every assignment was a step towards something better. The transformation was contagious. Other inmates started asking about the program. How do you get in? What are the requirements? Can someone like me really earn a college degree? Sean became an unofficial recruiter, mentor, and cheerleader for prison education. He helped other inmates navigate the application process, encouraged them through difficult coursework, and celebrated every small victory along the way. By the time of his release, Sean had accumulated 400 college credits through Nyack College. 400 credits. That's enough for multiple bachelor's degrees. This from a kid who'd entered prison with a 9th grade education. But the credits were just numbers on a transcript. The real transformation was deeper. Sean had discovered his life's purpose. In 2003, after serving 16 years of his 24-year sentence, Sean Pica walked out of prison. He was 32 years old. He'd spent half his life behind bars. The world he returned to was completely different from the one he'd left. The internet had exploded. Cell phones were everywhere. New York City had been transformed by both 9/11 and unprecedented drops in crime. Most ex-inmates struggle with re-entry. The practical challenges are enormous: finding housing, employment, rebuilding relationships with family members who've moved on with their lives. The psychological challenges are even greater. Sean had advantages most former inmates lack. His college education gave him credentials. His work with Hudson Link had connected him to a network of professors, administrators, and advocates who believed in second chances. But his biggest advantage was clarity of purpose. While incarcerated, Sean had helped found Hudson Link as a student organization. Upon release, he joined the organization's board of directors. Education had saved his life. Now, he wanted to use it to save others. In 2007, just 4 years after his release, Sean was named executive director of Hudson Link. The former 9th grade dropout, the teenager who'd committed murder for hire, was now running one of the most innovative prison education programs in America. Under Sean's leadership, Hudson Link expanded dramatically. When he took over, the program served about 60 students in 3 prisons. Today, it enrolls over 670 students annually across 6 correctional facilities, partnering with 9 different colleges and universities. The results speak for themselves. Hudson Link graduates have a recidivism rate of less than 2%. The national average is 68%. That's not just a statistic, that's hundreds of families staying together, thousands of crimes prevented, millions of dollars saved in incarceration costs. Sean didn't stop with his bachelor's degree. After his release, he earned 2 master's degrees, one from New York Theological Seminary and another from Hunter College. The kid who'd barely made it through 9th grade became one of the most credentialed voices in criminal justice reform. But Sean's real credentials come from lived experience. When he talks to inmates about the power of education, they listen. He's been where they are. He understands the despair, the anger, the sense that society has written you off. When he talks to lawmakers about prison reform, they listen too. His transformation from murderer to executive director is impossible to ignore. His success challenges every assumption about who deserves a second chance and what's possible when society invests in rehabilitation over punishment. Today, Sean Pica serves as president of Hudson Link, recently promoted from his role as executive director. Under his leadership, the organization has awarded more than 1,200 degrees to incarcerated and formerly incarcerated students. But numbers only tell part of the story. Each degree represents a life transformed, a family reunited, a cycle of crime and incarceration broken. Sean's work has saved New York taxpayers millions of dollars. Every Hudson Link graduate who doesn't return to prison saves the state approximately $60,000 per year in incarceration costs. With recidivism rates at nearly zero, that's millions in savings annually. More importantly, Sean's work has proven that education is the most effective tool for reducing crime and recidivism. His success has inspired similar programs across the country. The model he helped create is being replicated in dozens of states. Sean also serves on the New York State Council on Community Reentry and Reintegration, helping shape policy for the thousands of people who return from prison each year. He sits on the board of trustees for the Sing Sing Prison Museum, helping tell the stories of incarceration and rehabilitation. The teenager who entered prison with almost no hope for a future has become one of America's most respected voices for criminal justice reform. Sean's story challenges every assumption about youth crime, about the possibility of rehabilitation, about who deserves a second chance. At 16, society was ready to throw him away. At 32, he emerged as a leader. The murder he committed can never be undone. The family destroyed by his actions will never be whole. But Sean has spent the last 2 decades proving that even the worst crimes don't have to define a person's entire life. From a 9th grade dropout to a college graduate with multiple degrees. From an inmate to an executive director. From someone society wanted to forget to someone whose work is saving lives and changing policy. Sean Pica's transformation from cell to success isn't just a redemption story. It's proof that education can break any cycle, overcome any obstacle, and transform any life, even one that seemed hopelessly lost. That's the power of refusing to give up. That's the power of education. That's the Sean Pica story. Sean Pica proves one thing: your worst mistake doesn't have to be your final chapter. If you believe in second chances, help us spread this message. Like, subscribe, and share this story.